Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezel here and I hope you're all well. And, well, I want to talk to you a little bit about the French dominance. um, so, of course, being a new tech tree, there's going to be quite a lot of people playing tanks. And there's going to be quite a lot of people playing the French tanks. But it also gives a good opportunity to farm new players. The big thing is, though, for rank 3, and well, technically rank 4, the French are possibly the strongest nation in the game now. And that's because, well, they get some amazing vehicles. Now, this is not the case for other BRs. It does drastically change. But for 4.7, they are probably the best nation. Now, 4.7 with America, you've got the 76mm Sherman, which is a decent Sherman. You've got some decent shells and there's some decent penetration. But that's pretty much the only decent penetration tank you've got. The Jumbo is good. The Jumbo is really the thing that really helps here. The Cobra King Jumbo, things like that. But you look at the lineup and you've got the M10, which is starting to get a little bit troublesome at 4.7, although you still have great penetration, and that's its biggest strength, but you do have some problems with it just because it's that slow turret rotation. The AAA guns are not that great. 4.7 AAA for America is pretty awful. You've got, as I said, you've got some good Shermans, you've got the Jumbo, and you've got the Chaffee. But that's about it. Germans, 4.7. Yeah, it's not great for Germans on 4.7. You get the Dickermax, of course, you get the Hetzer, you get the Jagdpanzer 4, sorry. The Ostwind, the Wirbelwind, those are probably the strongest sort of tanks. You get the Panzer IV HJs, the H and a J, sorry. You get some okay tanks at 4.7, but it's probably one of their weakest BRs. So the Germans get decimated quite often, and they have a lot of trouble because they just don't have the armour. You can pretty much penetrate every vehicle there with no problem, other than the Hetzer and the Jagdpanzer. The Russians are quite strong at 4.7, and they used to be pretty much the king of 4.7, I would say. They were very strong in that respect. You had the KV-2, of course. You've got the T-34s. You've got the KV-1s. You've got the Su-85, the ASU-57, of course. You've got some good AAA with the ZSU-37. They've got a good 4.7 balance, but they get pretty wrecked. I've noticed in the games I've had, they've been at a very big disadvantage, even when up-tiered. I've been facing IS-2s and IS-1s, T-34-85s, and they're harder games, of course, because these things can just pen anything, but they're still losing quite a lot just because the French tanks just have the mobility and the penetration, not necessarily the armour in this respect. One of the big advantages for the Americans, though, is their planes, of course, at 4.7. You've got the Jug, you've got the P-61, you've got the Lightning, you've got so many good ground attackers. The BTD, lots of very heavy ground attackers in that respect. The Germans, they have some okay ground attackers for sure. You get the Duck, you get the ME-410s, things like that. And of course you get the Bf-109s and Focke-Wulfs and stuff like that. So the ground attackers are actually quite good for the Germans, and that's where they can cause quite a lot of damage with the guns. Of course they get the Stuka as well. The Russians, the aircraft not so good for ground attacking. 4.7, they've got some good fighters, and they've of course got the IL-2s and the PE-3s and things like that, but they're not quite as strong. The British at 4.7, they bring back some bad memories. You got the Churchill, you've got the Firefly, you've got the Avenger, the Achilles, you've got the Crusader AAA, but you know, it's not terrible. The Firefly's pretty decent, but the Churchill is just the Churchill, and it's just depressing whenever you play it. Poor thing. It's not terrible, but it is just it's just not great. Aircraft wise, again, they've got a pretty good spread. You know, got the Firebrands, you got the Spitfires, the Tempests, you know, things like that. The Beaufighter Mark 10, I think it is. But of course, the trouble with that is you do get some good options. You got the RP3s, but they're not great anymore. But you've got some good ground attackers, and you know, relatively good ground attackers and fighters. Japanese at 4.3, well, sorry, 4.7 even. The Chai-To is decent. Moving on. That's about it. That's about all you've got that's decent. It's the Chai-To. I guess you can take out the M24 as well. But yeah, that's about it. The NATO is actually quite good. If you get it in a good spot, it's actually pretty decent. But that's pretty much it. The Chai-Nu and the Chai-To, that's your only real decent tank. And that's just because of the cannon. The Type 2 75mm is just an absolute beast. So that's where it really comes in. At 5.7, you've got of course, the Tigers and stuff like that. And, you know, 5.7, if you're up tiered, you're facing Tigers and a lot of heavy tanks that can be quite dangerous. So you know, you do have that problem with 4.7, is you do get up tiered to face the Tiger 1s and the Panthers and things like that. But the Japanese aviation, yeah, there's not anything that can really do much to the ground forces. The B-7A2 is actually not too bad with the 800-kilogram bomb, but you've only got one use. But yeah, the Japanese, we just won't talk about them. However, the French have got some serious firepower. So you've got the M4A1FL10 with its autoloader. It's the Super Sherman. Sorry, it's the M4A1 chassis. So the armor's not great, but it has got some good sort of thickness in the area, so it will bounce quite a few shots at distance. You know, so it's not terrible armor. The turret's not great, but the rate of fire of this thing's crazy. You get 5 shots per second with a, I think it's a 12-round clip. Yeah, 12-round clip. So, you know, the rate of fire is just insane on this thing, and the penetration, well, you're not going to struggle much with most things. You know, even frontally, you're going to go through the majority of things. So this thing is an absolute beast of a tank. The M4A4 S50, the Super Sherman, again, absolute beast of a tank. The armor, very good still. You know, you've got some weak points here and here with the driver's support, but you know, you've got some relatively good armor. You've got sort of almost 100mm of effective thickness at some points. The turret's very good. Rate of fire of 8.9 seconds. The crew's been tweaked a little bit, so that's not your standard, but you know, you've got very good penetration with that secondary shell, but even the stock shell's not bad at all. This thing is an absolute monster to take things out. The AMX-13 DCA, as I said, this thing will take out Panthers from the side. Absolute beastly thing. And finally, you've got the Jumbo. Now you can also take out the ARL-44 ACL. That's a decent enough vehicle for this BR. If you're not up tiered. If you're up tiered, then it's hopeless. But anyway, the main thing is you get the M4A3 Jumbo. You know, and again, it's not got the greatest penetration, but the armor of it is just ludicrous on this tank. You know, the armor values are insane. You've got 100mm of frontal plate armor with this secondary plate on board. You know, not much can penetrate you from the front. Even Tigers have a hard time sometimes. You know, the downside of this tank is, of course, the gun. But if you're using the APCR shot, you've got enough penetration to go through those other heavy tanks. And usually you're brawling in this tank up close. And then we've got the air support. The P63. Great CAS vehicle. I never use it. I just don't like it personally. But with the ground targets, 40 millimeters of penetration from the top, you're going to go through most things without too much problem. It's a good fighter. Plus, you get the bomb. You get 3 500-pound bombs on board as well. Really good. The F6Fs, of course, you get a lot of different modifications. They're good fighters. Again, I haven't really researched them, so I'm not using them. But you get the rockets, you get the bombs. You've got 2,000 pounds of bombs and 6 rockets. You've got Tiny Tims available. This thing is an absolute monster to kill ground targets with. So the majority of it is American tech. So basically, it's almost like America at 4.7, but with better guns. And that's really why this BR is decimating. I've been in a few games today where it's been Russian 5.7 matches, and we're still winning because we just have that penetration value. We have tanks that can take a bit of a beating. And the whole team is 4.7. I don't think I've seen anyone in a match higher than 4.7 with the French. This BR is the sweet spot for grinding. So yeah, if you're looking for a tank to buy, if you've not bought one yet, go the FL10. I would highly recommend it. I don't have it, but I don't need it to say how good it is. I've seen it in action. It's very good. But if you're just happy to grind up, just grind up to get the Jumbo and the SA50, and they will be your sweet spot. They will get you through this BR without any problem. Okay guys, look, I hope you enjoyed this quickie. Let me know what you think below about this BR, and let me know what you think about how OP French are as well. I'm hearing a lot that they're just way overpowered, but they're really not. They're, it's not easy to play. The big things that are OP are vehicles that are from other nations. As I said, the most success I've had is the Jumbo. The French tanks I've not been having as much success in. So it's an interesting thing when you're actually going up against the Americans. They can't do anything to you, but your tanks can do a lot to them. So it's almost overpowered in that respect. But I think the main thing is the Germans and the French need to change their playstyle a little bit. Don't rush in as quickly. Let the French get there and then take them out. Try and encircle them, things like that. Because if you're fighting front v front with the French, they're going to win every match at this BR. If you manage to flank them, then you're going to have a much better time. Okay guys, I will catch you later. This is Screezler out. Bye bye.